Hey everyone, it's Eliza. I'm an ex-Amish woman from Pennsylvania, and I left my community about 4 years ago. Today I want to talk about something that honestly surprised me when I entered the modern world: Amish marriages. Now, I'm not here to say the Amish have it all figured out because trust me, they don't. But there are some things they do differently that actually make a lot of sense, and I think people could learn from them. So let's get into it. First thing you need to understand is that divorce basically doesn't exist in Amish culture. I'm talking close to 0% divorce rate. When you get married in an Amish church, that's it. You're done. For life. No outs, no excuses. Now, before you think that sounds terrible, hear me out. This mindset changes everything about how you approach conflict in a marriage. In the modern world, I've noticed people keep divorce in their back pocket like an escape plan. Things get hard, and suddenly it's like, well, maybe we're just not compatible. Maybe I married the wrong person. But in Amish marriages, divorce isn't an option you even consider. So when problems come up, and they always do, you have to actually work through them. You have to figure it out because leaving isn't on the table. I remember my parents fighting sometimes, not screaming matches, but disagreements. My dad would go work in the barn, my mom would be in the kitchen, and then a few hours later, they'd talk it through. They'd bring in the elders if it was serious. The community would help mediate. The church leaders would counsel them. It wasn't just the two of them alone trying to figure everything out. There was support, there was accountability, and most importantly, there was this understanding that you work it out, period. Now, I'm not saying people should stay in abusive marriages. That's a completely different situation. But for regular marriage problems, the kind everyone has, the Amish approach of no escape route actually forces people to develop real conflict resolution skills. And honestly, I think that's something a lot of modern marriages are missing. Second thing, and this one's huge: no screens, no phones, no social media, no TV. When my husband, who I met after leaving the Amish, when he gets home from work, he's not scrolling through his phone for 2 hours. When we eat dinner, we're actually talking to each other. We're not both staring at screens. I didn't realize how big of a deal this was until I left. I see couples sitting next to each other, both on their phones, not talking. I see families at restaurants where everyone's on a device. In Amish homes, that doesn't happen because those devices don't exist. When the workday ends, you're with your family. You're present. You're actually there. My parents would sit on the porch after dinner and just talk. They'd talk about the day, the kids, what needed to be done on the farm, community news, everything. They knew each other deeply because they actually spent time together without distractions. Compare that to how many modern couples barely have real conversations because there's always something else pulling their attention. And here's the thing, it's not just about the quantity of time, it's the quality. Amish couples work together. My mom and dad had different roles, sure, but they were working toward the same goals every single day. They were a team. My dad couldn't run the farm without my mom managing the household. My mom couldn't raise us kids and handle everything she did without my dad providing and maintaining everything. They needed each other, and they knew it. Third thing, and this might sound old-fashioned, but hear me out: clear roles and expectations. Now, before you jump on me, I'm not saying women should be submissive or not have a voice. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that Amish couples know what they're each responsible for, and there's no constant negotiation about who's doing what. My mom ran the household. She managed the money, decided what we ate, handled the garden, raised the kids, made all the day-to-day decisions about home life. My dad worked the farm, handled repairs, dealt with business stuff, made decisions about crops and equipment. They each had their domain, and they trusted each other in those areas. In the modern world, I feel like couples are constantly arguing about who does more, who's pulling their weight, who did the dishes last. There's scorekeeping, there's resentment. With clear roles, that doesn't happen as much because you both know what you're responsible for. You're not stepping on each other's toes all the time. Now, I will say this: those roles are very traditional and very rigid, and that didn't work for me personally. That's part of why I left. But I can't deny that it creates a certain kind of stability and reduces a specific type of conflict. There's something to be said for that. Fourth, and this is a big one: community involvement. Amish marriages aren't just between two people. The whole community is invested in your marriage succeeding. Your parents, your siblings, your church, your neighbors, everyone is watching and helping and holding you accountable. When I got married in the modern world, it was just me and my husband. Nobody checked in on us. Nobody asked how we were doing. If we were struggling, we were on our own to figure it out. In Amish culture, if a marriage is struggling, the church elders step in. They counsel you. They pray with you. They help mediate. Your family gets involved. It's not seen as private business that no one should interfere with. It's seen as community business because strong marriages make a strong community. And yeah, sometimes that feels invasive. Sometimes you want privacy. But there's also something really beautiful about knowing that if things get hard, you're not alone. You have people who will help you fix it, not people who will tell you to just leave if you're unhappy. Fifth thing, and this is something I actually miss, simplicity. Amish couples don't have the stress of keeping up with the Joneses because everyone has basically the same stuff. You don't have financial stress over wanting a bigger house or a nicer car because those things don't exist in your world. You're not comparing your marriage to highlight reels on Instagram because Instagram doesn't exist. The problems Amish couples have are real problems. How do we feed our family? How do we raise our kids right? How do we serve God and our community? They're not arguing about vacation destinations or what kind of furniture to buy or whether they can afford the latest iPhone. The simplicity removes so many sources of conflict that modern couples deal with every single day. My husband and I have had more arguments about money and stuff than my parents probably had in their entire marriage, and we're not even big spenders. It's just that the modern world creates so many more opportunities for disagreement and comparison and dissatisfaction. The Amish life, for all its restrictions, removes a lot of that noise. Sixth, this is something I didn't appreciate until I left. Amish couples pray together every single day, before meals, before bed. When there's a problem, they pray. Now, I'm not particularly religious anymore, but I can't deny that this practice creates connection. It creates a sense of shared purpose. It reminds you that you're not just roommates, you're partners in something bigger than yourselves. Whether you're religious or not, I think there's value in having some kind of shared practice that grounds you as a couple, something that you do together regularly that reminds you why you're together and what you're building. For the Amish, it's prayer. For others, it could be something else, but that practice matters. Seventh, and this might be the most practical one, Amish couples spend their dating period actually getting to know each other, not just the fun version of each other. Amish dating is called courting, and it involves spending time with each other's families, working together, being around each other in real-life situations, not just romantic date nights. By the time you get married, you've seen how they handle stress, how they treat their family, how they work, how they act when things go wrong. You're not marrying a fantasy version of someone. You're marrying the real person. And yeah, courtship is super secretive, and there are some weird practices like bundling, which is where couples would lie in bed together fully clothed just to talk, but the principle of really knowing someone before you marry them, that makes sense. Modern dating is so focused on romance and chemistry and excitement. Amish courting is focused on compatibility and character, and whether this person will be a good partner for life. That's a pretty significant difference. Now let me be clear about something. I left the Amish for reasons. The gender roles were too limiting for me. I wanted education. I wanted choices. I wanted a life where I could be more than a wife and mother, as important as those roles are. The Amish way isn't perfect, and it's definitely not for everyone, but I'd be lying if I said there weren't things they get right about marriage. The commitment to making it work no matter what, the absence of constant digital distraction, the community support, the simplicity, the shared purpose. These are things that create stability and connection, and they're things that a lot of modern marriages are desperately lacking. I think the key is taking the good parts and leaving the rest. You don't have to give up technology completely, but maybe put the phones away during dinner. You don't have to have rigid gender roles, but maybe have clear expectations about who's responsible for what. You don't have to involve your whole church in your marriage, but maybe have a few trusted people who can help when things get hard. The Amish aren't perfect. No culture is. But they've figured out some things about marriage that actually work, and I think we'd all benefit from paying attention to those things, even if we're not willing to give up our cars and electricity to get them. Thanks for watching. If you have questions or thoughts, drop them in the comments. I love hearing from you guys, and I try to respond to as many as I can. See you in the next one.